Today I want to make a video about apps because I realize that I think everybody nowadays relies so much on technology, even for just organizing sheet music, organizing exercises for technique, teaching. There's just so much technology around us. As a matter of fact, just for general day-to-day gigging, I realize that I use 2 phones, 2 tablets, and a laptop. So I use Samsung phones and Android, the Android OS, so to speak. But I will suggest, I know that in the States, a lot of people that follow my channel are from the States. I will suggest iPhone alternatives. So the first one that I use is a tuner, and it's actually called A-tuner. There's a light version supported by ads, and you can see here it's pretty much like one of those stroboscopic tuners where you play a note, the spinning wheel stops. If you spin it in one direction, it's sharp. If you spin it in the other, it's flat. There are a few other small features in this, like a metronome or a tuner. Sorry, a metronome or like a note, so to speak. And you can pin some, instead of being chromatic, you can pin some notes. But I usually use it in chromatic mode. And you can see it's like super sensitive. So an alternative for iPhone would be tuner by PS-Core, I think that's what it's called. And for beginners, obviously this is probably more advanced, so I wouldn't give this to a complete beginner. For complete beginner, it's very popular, the Guitar Tuner app that has also like lessons and stuff like that. It's very basic in terms of like it shows you the tuning peg so that if you have ukulele or bass, it's quite visual in the way that you can figure out how to tune the guitar. I found that the Guitar Tuner app is quite useful for complete beginners. But if you're a bit more advanced, you want something that is a bit more accurate and fast, that A-tuner I think is quite good. Okay, metronome. I use 2 metronomes and a drum loop app. The obviously Metronome Beats is probably the most the metronome app that I see the most. Is quite, you can tap tempo, you can beats per bar, so you can change the accent, you can change the sound of each click. You can create drum beats. This has changed so much. It's quite. You can create polyrhythms. This has changed so much. This app from the very beginning. You can just do visually. You can give a count-in, your presets, set list. This is quite a huge app, and this is both for Android and iPhones. This is an incredible tool, and it has something that I use a lot, especially for teaching. Let's say if you are at a particular tempo, I usually tend to start quite slow to learn, let's say, a lick or an exercise, and then I do +5 to target, meaning that and some of these apps, I think this one as well, you can choose that over a certain amount of bars, you can increase the tempo by a certain amount of BPMs. And I think this has that as well. The one thing that it doesn't have, and I have another app that I think is Android only, but if you can search for voice metronome, you will probably find something similar. This is an app originally in Korean that I found randomly, and it's called Iona Voice Metronome. The reason why I like it is because it counts.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2,
okay.
3.
And for beginners, that's quite handful. Or if you're trying to learn something that is quite intricate in terms of like polyrhythm, just being able to go back to the 1. I find it easier if the metronome says the word 1, that there has a different type of click. This might not be great for, let's say, like drummers that want a click. I find that drummers want a particular, a definite clicking sound, so to speak, where this doesn't have a very definite, bit. But I find this for like practicing is quite helpful. Also, it's quite fun. You can see it has.
1, 2.
And also it's in Korean as well, if you're from Korea. I don't know, I found that kind of interesting. It has accents, has, obviously different speeds and tempos, divisions, so to speak, subdivisions. Yeah, that's another metronome app that I use a lot. Alternatively, I actually use this thing called Loops with a Z, and this is only for Android. I think there's an alternative called Drum Beats Metronome by Tiny Boom. To practice, I actually sometimes prefer to practice to a drum loop that is only drums, and this has quite a few different styles. My drum. And you can have, obviously, the volume and the speed. I find this is quite great. This is a great app for writing. Like if I wanted to come up with a groove, or even like to give you an idea. 'Cause some styles you have to place where you're playing slightly forward, slightly behind the beat. And I find that actually hearing a drum loop rather than just a click, it helps me. I don't know if it's just like a psychological thing, or if you're trying to come up with a groove or a riff. I find that having a drum beat helps me. It makes things quicker than having just a click, so to speak. So this is an app that I use a lot. Loops or Loops, whatever. So organizing charts. The one I use is called Mobile Sheet Music, and this is a huge app. This is quite a big app. You can import PDFs. You can. It's all online, synced online. Everything that I have is synced online, and it can be. You can see I can write notes. It has different modes. You can scribble on things. You can highlight. Let's say if I have like a coda, I can highlight the coda. I can do many things. I can put shortcuts. I can have it in different modes. I can have set list links to different parts of, other set lists, copy set list. It's a huge app. This is, there would be way too many features in this app for me to explain in this short video. If you want something that is a bit more actually just writing music, you would have to use something like MuseScore. And I think for iPhone, because this is Android only, for iPhone, the one that I suggest is called Fourscore. I see that it's quite popular in the musicians community that use Apple. That's great to share charts, to share set list. I mean, again, the sheet music, mobile sheet music, does that as well. But I find that the best feature, apart from being able to organize your set lists, is that you can sync everything online, either on a file on Dropbox or just sync something that, or in a file on your phone or in another, things like a laptop. But you can, let's say if something happened to, let's say, my phone or my tablet when I'm at a gig, all I need to find is another Android tablet, download the app and go online, and literally everything that I have, all my set lists, all my charts, every note that I've ever made will be back on that tablet within a minute. Okay, so it's rare that I use paper music anymore, like charts made paper, because for two reasons. For the fact that if something happens to the chart, it's very difficult. If I lose the chart, it'd be very difficult to find, rebuild that the repertoire, so to speak, or print everything. That would be expensive. Where by doing it this way, it's instantaneous. All I needed to be saved somewhere, or just constantly save, occasionally backup. I tend to do it like once a week. And another thing is that I don't need a light. I don't need a light on top of my music stand, which I find it's quite an issue sometimes. The light can go off, can break, everything obviously can break. But I find that once I start using tablets for my music, I never fancy going back. When I do the odd gig where I have physical charts, I kind of struggle, so to speak. I've got to be honest. The next app is Music Speed Changer. It's basically an advanced, this is incredible, especially for teaching. It's basically an advanced music player that does loops, changes pitch, changes tempo, and does recently with the AI trend that is starting, it splits, it does stems. You can remove an instrument and you can remove vocals if you want to sing. So this is a very, very, very powerful app. I'm going to show you with my tunes. So let's say you can make a little loop. So, and you can slow it down, change the pitch, and then you can change the pitch. And again, if you go up here, you can track splitter. You can change, make the where is it? Track isolation. You can pick that, and you can process the track. And by processing the track, then you will have stems. You will have drums, bass, other instruments, guitar, and you can remove the guitar and practice. Let's say if you wanted to learn a particular tune, you can download an MP3 or a WAV file and put it into this program, remove the guitar, and practice that with the original track, so to speak. I found this to be, I've used this for years to teach, and I find this to be one of the most powerful apps. Again, Music Speed Changer, I think is both for iPhone and Android. They're similar apps, but I find this is like an all-in-one. It's also like a great music player as well. Another app that I see a lot of musicians that I know that use in any style now is the iReal book. I mean, this is a great app. You can have the chart in a split second in any style. Nowadays, there are forums that create apps and share them. And in pretty much any style, if you play in a function band that plays pop or you play jazz, this was obviously as a real book, was born as a jazz real book, so to speak. And you can see you have chords for most apps. And nowadays there are literally entire real books. Like now I am on this Jazz 1400, which means there are 1400 tunes, and you have the chords for that, obviously, because of the melody is the part that is copyrighted. That this won't contain the copyrighted melody, like the original real book, which was a bit, let's say, underground. Let's just say it that way. But you can see that it's nowadays you can literally turn up at any gig, and if you have that tune in your ear, if you have heard it even once, you have the form and the chords there for you. And you can create set lists, you can share them, and so on. Another app that I use, this is Android only. The other one, the iReal book, is both for Android and iPhone, is called Fakebook Pro. Very similar. It still opens the iReal book files. And I used to use this a lot. I feel that nowadays it probably shifted more towards the iReal book app. But this does the same job, and it's for Android only. And I find it a bit cleaner in the way that it's laid out, so to speak. But it's just as good. They're both great. They're both great apps that you can make notations, you can make set lists, you can share the set list. These are huge, huge apps, way beyond the scope of this short video. Other apps that I use that I can mention, but I don't use them as often. More like note taking. You can use like a note taking app like Google Notes, or there are many more. And I tend to do that like for just notes to try to remember things like set lists, or things that I have to do for gigs, or notes for lyrics or chord progressions. I find that having them online in an app that has them stored somewhere, it's quite helpful. Another app that I use a lot is Open Camera. I use them to make these videos, to create like social media content. Also if I come up with ideas and I'm somewhere where I cannot write them down, I tend to make a little video and play, so I have folders full of small videos, so that I don't only have the audio like I could make with like an audio note-taking app that every phone has nowadays, or every tablet has nowadays. I have also like the visual way. If I have a particular tuning, I will say at the very beginning, this is XYZ tuning, and it's a note for this particular groove or this particular tune, so to speak. There are two more apps that I want to suggest. One is Sound Gym. It's more like not necessarily an app that is on your phone, but something you can find online. It basically trains your ear to recognize frequencies, and I find to create sounds, to create patches, or like when you're in a room with an amp and there's a particular frequency that is annoying you, it's quite helpful to be able to recognize the frequency and with an EQ to notch it out, so to speak. So there are quite a lot of apps that you can use, like Sound Gym, or anything that if you search frequency recognition, audio frequency recognition, you will be able to find quite a few apps that train your ears to recognize certain frequencies. And another app that I use a little bit for teaching, as I said, I'm not big on trying to find tabs online or chord progressions online. I find that not very accurate. I trust my ears more than those apps. But I find that Sonster is has some more advanced stuff, and it's all tapped out. I wish it also had like a traditional notation, but I find that that's mostly tabs. And I found that for some teaching, or the occasional tune where I cannot maybe figure out, it's quite rare that I cannot figure out what, let's say, maybe something written in a particular tuning or a particular technique. Sometimes there is a particular guitar that does things in a particular way. Either a YouTube video or Songster will have like a tablature, but I don't use those very much. I find that maybe finding a live performance is more helpful, because it shows not only what the person is playing, but the feel, the sound, and so on. But I find Songster, of all those apps that have tablatures, to be the slightly better built and accurate, because also you can sync up the tablature to the original YouTube video, to the original recording, so to speak. So I find that to be one of the better apps. Yeah, that's it. I think that's all I have to say about apps. If I can think of other ones, and if you want to share an app that you use a lot, feel free to say so and to leave a comment. And especially if you have an alternative to some of these apps that I have suggested. That's it for today. I think if you can subscribe, that'll be amazing. If you find these videos of help to you, feel free to share them with a friend or through social media. Feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. I just passed the 4,000 mark, so if we can get to 5,000, that would be amazing. So feel free to click that subscribe button and check out all my other videos. All right, take care. Bye-bye.